Hey everybody, it's time for the first monthly Smashtalk update. I guess it won't really be monthly. It'll be whenever there's something big that I feel deserves attention. And a couple big things have happened. The biggest ones. There's actually three main things that I really feel need to be discussed. The first is the release of the Wii U, and the games for it, and details of the system and things like that, how that affects things. That'll be the last thing I talk about because it's probably the biggest. Second is the announcement of the Pokemon 6th generation, X and Y, which is going to be coming out in October, which is crazy because it seems like they're just releasing a Pokemon game every year now. That'll be probably the first thing. I don't know, or second. I don't care. I'll talk about it at some point. The third thing, which is actually kind of old, but now is relevant. Actually, there's four things. The third thing is Fire Emblem Awakening. Now that it's actually coming here, I've looked it up a bit more. It deserves some mention. The fourth thing is Pandora's Tower is coming to America. The last Rainfall game. This will be what I start with, and this really, really excites me. Pandora, like Operation Rainfall, is basically now a success. It's kind of funny because like we've stopped pushing. I was never really a part of Rainfall. I never put money into it or anything, and I have so much respect for the people who did. I just wasn't able to, and I can't really claim to be part of that movement. But they're a success. Even though they stopped like really pushing a while ago. Pandora's Tower just got announced, and that's awesome. Xseed has said that it will be getting a spring release, so it's going to be really soon. It's going to be a couple months. You guys already know that I'm a fan of Xenoblade, and while I haven't gotten to play the last story, it at least looked interesting. So, I mean, the fact that the last Rainfall game is coming here is pretty exciting to me. Now, here's the thing. I know that there's been, like, mixed opinions on the last story, and that Pandora's Tower is also getting mixed opinions, and there are people that don't like Xenoblade, too. Absolguide included. But this is why I'm excited about it. Even if Pandora's Tower ends up just being an okay game, the reason I'm excited about these games is because they're trying things. Xenoblade tried in that it brought back kind of like the old school RPG, but combined some new RPG elements. And honestly, nobody just really does new RPGs like that anymore. You gotta go back to like some of like the long running names. You know, there's still some series that have been going for years and years that still make games kind of like that. But nobody really makes a new franchise like that anymore. And that's what made Xenoblade so fun for me. And Last Story seemed like an interesting combination. There's some things about it I didn't like as much. From the little that I played with Scotty. But it's trying things. You know, it's new. It's trying to find something great. And that's what I'm excited about. And Pandora's Tower, too. I've heard there's time limits and all these sorts of things, and I don't think there's another game like it, and I'm excited to have a chance to play it. And that's what I feel like the Rainfall titles really are, is I feel like Nintendo doesn't think America's worth taking risks in anymore. That the only games we're sending here are the really, really safe games, and we're not going to embrace new content. Which, sadly enough, I think is kind of true. Look at the way that we didn't really go for things like Little King's Story, or The World Ends With You. The World Ends With You is like a cult hit, but it didn't really get huge attention. I think it's superior to Final Fantasy XIII, but it didn't get nearly as much attention from Square Enix. Well, not from Square Enix, but from the fans. And then in turn, Square Enix, because it's more profitable to, monopolize on Final Fantasy XIII, because that's what we go for. I mean, I guess it's just the market. But anyways, what this means is we've all been talking about Shulk from Xenoblade being in the next Smash game. Well, what about Last Story and Pandora's Tower? We haven't talked as much about them, and thinking about it, I think I kind of understand why. Xenoblade really is the one that stands out the most. It's the one that got the best reviews. It's the one that I think more people picked up than... I don't think many people are going to get Pandora's Tower. Not that many people got Last Story. Well, it had a very limited release, honestly. I think most of the ones that actually did get released here did get bought. It's just they didn't send many. But Xenoblade is definitely the one that's been standing out. It was also, it was the first one to come out and all that. I think it just generally makes more sense for Xenoblade to be the game that gets represented. Oh, also, it's made by Monolith Soft, so I guess that actually kind of ties it pretty closely to Nintendo. However, I'm not really going to know more about this until I play Last Story all the way through and Pandora's Tower. I'm just assuming that they're not really going to get the same kind of treatment that Xenoblade is. partially because of the people that made it and partially because of the reception. However, I do think it'd be really cool if they got some kind of representation, at least in terms of maybe some items or something. Like I said, I'll know more once I've actually played them. I don't want to say things and assert things without actually having experienced it. But I think that it would be nice for them to be represented, maybe through stickers. But I'll definitely be talking more once Pandora's Tower comes out, and once I finish Lost Story, or not Lost Story, The Last Story. I should have finished both of the other Rainfall titles before Pandora's Tower comes out, so then I should be able to just play it. And hopefully, I'll get a chance to. Because now that I'm working for Zelda Informer, we every now and then get some press copies, and I kind of asked the webmaster if I could get that press copy, if we end up getting one. So, fingers crossed. It'd be really nice. I really, really want it. On to the next topic of discussion. Fire Emblem Awakening comes out next month with the Fire Emblem 3DS bundle for $200 that I really, really want to get. I love Fire Emblem. You guys know that I love Fire Emblem. I've talked about it before. And honestly, Awakening looks like the best one in a while. Like, I'm really excited. Well, I mean, it's been like 5 years since the last actual new game. Shadow Dragon was just a remake, so don't count that entirely. Although Shadow Dragon was pretty good. Now, there's been a lot of debate over if there's going to be a new character from Fire Emblem, if Chrome is going to replace somebody. There's also been talk of Anna, because now, for the first time, she's actually a unit that you can get. Even though she's been in basically all the games up to this point as shopkeepers, civilians, that sort of thing. Some people have been saying that that she's like really important to the franchise. I don't know if I'd call her really important. It really depends what Sakurai goes for. If Sakurai goes for the mechanics and for the amount of games that they've been in, Anna will be in. Anna will be in if that's what he goes off of. I'm just trying to figure out what he represents. Like with each franchise, you can usually kind of figure out what he's going for. Like with most franchises, he's just going for the main characters. With the Mario franchise, with the Zelda franchise, he's going for the main characters. With Pokemon, he's going by popularity. But with Fire Emblem, it's really tricky because it's not an ongoing series. Well, it is ongoing, but it's not a sequential series the way that Mario or Link is. They're all completely disconnected with all their own characters, most of them only in one game. Looking at the fact that we've got Marth, Roy, and Ike who've been represented so far. Roy was clearly for advertisement. Like, there's no doubt about that. You know, and that's why they didn't keep him in the next game. And Ike was recent. But Marth is still there because of his overall importance. So I guess the real question is, how important is he going to find Ike? Is Ike important enough to stick around? Because while Marth was, due to being, you know, the first, Marth and Ike are also the only characters that have 2 games where they are the protagonists. Or at least one of the protagonists. Radiant Dawn was interesting. It's really tough. Because then it's also, well, Chrome really doesn't stand out more than any other Lord in that he's not any more significant. He's the most recent, but he's not really any more significant, and unless he gets a second game, he's going to be nothing compared to all the others over time. I do think that by this point, it's really important to represent some variety. If I was making the decision, if I used an Awakening rep, it would be Anna, but I wouldn't use an Awakening rep. If I had to make the decision, I would use either an antagonist or one of the only lords who didn't have a sword. Somebody like Ephraim or Hector or Hardin for an antagonist, or really anybody. Just to get some variety in there, or maybe even a magic user. There's also the question if Fire Emblem is even going to get another rep in the first place. It's really, really tricky. Like, back when I made my Fire Emblem video before Awakening was even announced, it was still really hard to decide, and now it's still difficult, because you don't know what's going on in his head with this one. So my personal taste, go for variety over recent appearances. However, I do think that Anna and Chrome are both likely, but in time, they'll be underwhelming. I feel like Marth and Ike have staying power in that they will be remembered 5-10 years down the road by people who like the series, because they're the protagonist of the only 2-game significant arcs. Time will only tell with Chrome. I think we honestly just won't even see a new Fire Emblem. Pokemon. Now this is interesting, because there's been a lot of discussion about whether you should use the 5 Pokemon slots to represent each generation. Well, now you got a 6th generation, so that's not going to happen. So what do you do now? Do you still try to represent all different generations? I don't think so. Because here's the thing. I don't think Sakurai has ever been interested in representing all the generations. He has stuck to first gen so much. Whether it's fair or not, that's what he's been doing. He's added barely any Pokemon that weren't first gen, and it's always been leaning very, very heavily towards original Pokemon. Now, I'm not saying that I think we won't see a new gen rep. I'm just saying I don't think that we're going to see Jigglypuff and the Pokemon Trainer disappear. Because clearly Sakurai's not going for representing every generation. He's got some other criteria that he's trying to fill, and I think what he's trying to fill is memorable Pokemon and memorable moments and themes in the series. Pikachu being the mascot, Jigglypuff honestly being there mostly because he needed a filler character, but also because she did have some relevance in the anime, and it was a pretty popular Pokemon back in the day. And now she's just kind of tradition. And Pokemon Trainer being the player, as well as representing several of the most popular Pokemon of all time. I do think Lucario's going to go. Because I don't think Lucario's going to stand up as well as those three do. With the exception of Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff doesn't really stand up, but it's just tradition. As far as the 6th gen Pokemon goes, I think I think we're definitely going to see a lot of their Pokemon in Pokeballs, and we're definitely going to see the legendaries, at least. The legendaries are very, very interesting. I can't wait to see what they do, but we need more information before we know anything. There are rumors about there being a new Eevee evolution. I would really like to see Eevee used in some way, because it's such a recurring thing. Like, Eevee has constantly grown throughout the series, and I would love to see Eevee, like, represented in some way, at least. Whether it's through Pokeball or something. And last but not least, the Wii U. Having gotten to play the Wii U, I got more of a feel for how the console actually works, and I've got kind of some more ideas about how it's going to affect things. First off, I actually do think that Mii's are going to be involved in the next Smash game in some way. I don't know if it's going to be the customizable character, though. I think it's very possible that there might be modes where you can just use your Mii's. What I mean by this is Nintendo Land showed kind of an interesting way to integrate your Mii's by taking on different costumes, different disguises, different characters, different weapons. And I think there might actually be a way for that to be used. Will they actually do it? I don't know. Whether it's your Mii's showing up in one of the stages, or whether it's a special mode where your Mii's like fight like one of the characters or something, there's definitely the possibility. And really, that's all I can say. I do, however, think it's likely that the Mii will be a customizable character. I think it's more likely than ever, now that I've seen how much more important the Mii's are on the Wii U than they were even on the Wii. The Mii's have been around for a while, and I really do think that they're going to be represented in some way in Smash. Also, we're finally going to have a good online mode. I can safely say that the Wii U's online works much better than the Wii's did. At least all the online features that we tried definitely worked very, very well. I've heard a lot of good things about the browser, and if the browser's good, that means the Wii U has good connectivity, which means they should be able to design a pretty good competitive Smash online system with that. So we should be able to have some really, really good tournaments, and I'm really excited for that. Also, the Wii U's just generally fun. I was honestly very, very surprised by Nintendo Land. I thought it was just going to be, yeah, it'll be okay. But I really, really liked it. And having gotten my hands on the gamepad and seeing how the asymmetrical gameplay works, I think we're definitely going to see that used in some modes. And with that, this video's been running a bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. You got any questions, any suggestions for more topics to talk about, just let me know. I'm trying to make videos more often. So yeah, it's nice to talk to you guys again, and hopefully I'll see you soon.